Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the All Sports Podcast with me, Matt, and today, Joel. How are you, mate?
Hey, Matt. All good, mate. How you doing?
All good too, thank you. We're in a whistle-stop tour through a few different sports today. Make it all sports by name. We don't always manage to do that, and there's a lot of football going on, but we will endeavour today. So we will start with what was the early Premier League fixture was West Ham-Chelsea Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, probably more about West Ham than it was about Chelsea. I don't know if that's fair, but I feel like the story is like you would expect Chelsea to go there and win, but the way that they won and just the kind of apathy that seems to be surrounding West Ham at the moment is probably the main story. Like, we know that Chelsea are a good team and we know that they can do that to teams on their day. But I feel like West Ham kind of started quite brightly, and then as soon as there was any kind of pushback from Chelsea and any kind of adversity that the West Ham side had to face, they kind of went into themselves a little bit, and Chelsea just took the game away from them towards the end of the first half and early in the second. So it ended up really being a really, really comfortable victory for them, even without Cole Palmer, who got injured in the warm-up. A good sign for them that they're not totally reliant on him to score and create goals. It's probably been the case for a while, to be fair. It's been a bit quiet for Chelsea, hasn't it, in the Premier League? Or at least that's what my
he has been, but was running the show. I say in pre-season, but in the Club World Cup, he was running the show. Hence, him being in something like 54% of people's FPL teams. Yeah, we called it last week about West Ham and Graham Potter that. Are they in a little bit of trouble? And is he the man to right the ship? A bit of the vibe on the podcast was maybe not. And we got the input about his time in Brighton, and maybe anyone could have done that job. So this is his real stern test for Graham Potter now, and how he can alter the course of the West Ham ship. He then followed up the Chelsea result, going away to Wolves in the League Cup and getting dumped unceremoniously out of that as well, which isn't helping the mood. And he is, of course, is no surprise, the number one bet pick to be the first manager to go in the Prem.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he's favourite for that. I don't really think it's about him. I think there's a lot going on at the club that means that it's a bit of a concoction of things, but yeah, I just don't think that the West Ham fans are going to warm to him enough that it buys him time, to be honest, in a way that, like, if you think back to how that happened with Postecoglou at Spurs last season, like, he was struggling for results in the league, but I feel like he had enough kind of good feeling from the stands that the club could kind of stick with him. Obviously, the cup run was a big factor in that. But I don't see where that comes from for Potter. I don't think any West Ham fan would be that upset if...
We're going to wait till January now to have a potential cup run. So
exactly.
Not likely that he is going to last until then. I'm not sure 100% what their upcoming fixtures are, but I don't think it's bright. They've
got Forest away at the weekend as well. That's a tough fixture, and then we go into the international break. And even though we're only 3 games in at that point, international breaks are synonymous with managerial sackings, aren't they?
They are, but we know we spoke about it not this time last year, a little bit later on. We had it in the quiz about the new manager bounce, and they are better to sack their manager earlier in the season than later in the season. So there is that to be said. I'm not really sure who's out there anyway. Not dwell too much on struggling West Ham. As we said, possibly it was a good result for Chelsea, but mainly more about West Ham. What was the lunchtime kickoff? The lunchtime kickoff was Man City Spurs.
Spurs, yeah. Spurs looked really good. Really brave in the way that they pressed City. And I thought City looked toothless, especially in that second half where you would expect, okay, when are they going to start applying some pressure? It didn't really come. So it's really hard. You don't want to draw conclusions this early in the season. And City have had like a good game and then a bad game. But Yeah, I just still think something about them doesn't look quite right, especially out wide. Like, I think them using Doku out wide is such a weird one because he just gives up possession all the time. Or, like, yeah, he does. Like, he might go past his man, but then...
Well, he came on for Marmoush, so Marmoush did the same. A
Right,
similar
okay.
thing happened, and I thought that's why Marmoush had been hooked off, because he got brought off after 54 minutes, which is a little unlike Pep. So he hooks him off and brings on Doku, and Doku has a similar performance. It might as well have just been Marmoush continuing, but no creative output from them. And I think this is actually... I don't think, there's stuff that's good here with Spurs, but I also think this is the Man City that we saw last season. I don't think that what we saw last week was maybe a little bit of a false start.
Yeah, well, Wolves
we're going to find out who the real City are over the next few weeks and after the international break. Yeah, they don't have a tough game this weekend.
They've got Brighton away.
No offence, Brighton. Sorry, Andy.
Well, no, I think it's... Yeah, I mean, Brighton played on Sunday, didn't they, away at Everton. I wouldn't say that I'm worried about them. I just think they are flattering to deceive at the moment. I think I listened to a few previews that said that Brighton might do well this season, but I don't think I'm seeing loads from them early on in the season that suggests that's the case. But yeah.
Welbeck missed an absolute sitter.
I just felt he missed a pen as well. I just felt like he was always going to miss that penalty. I mean, it's tough going to Everton on that first game at the new stadium and whatever. And
what's the new stadium called?
The Hill Dickinson.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. It's a Liverpudlian legal firm, I think, and it's billed as one of the most lucrative naming rights deals in Europe, which I was very surprised to learn. But yeah, there you go. But I mean, I think the stadium looks great. I think it looked great on the telly. From what obviously a win helps, but Everton fans that I've seen online and whatever seem to be saying that it's a good place to go and watch football. It definitely looks like they've got like the steepness of the sides right and created something that can create an atmosphere. So I think that's cool. They've got they've got some sharp looking forwards as well. I was a bit down on their Grealish move, actually. I wasn't sure, because he was not heavily linked, but like, there was a lot of chat amongst Villa fans that maybe it was time to try and get him back or whatever. And I was never really into that because I didn't necessarily think he was the player who left Villa or could be that player again. But he showed some signs of it on Sunday from what I saw, like really running at his fullback, holding his width, which David Moyes obviously told him to do on that first goal. I think Everton have got a throw-in in their like right back position, and Grealish is really stretching the pitch. And yeah, that's interesting because it's create space for him to run into and stuff, and that's what created the goal in the end. So I think
one
really
match doth not make a season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we just got to keep watching and seeing how they do. But I would be worried about Grealish's durability, actually being asked to play week in, week out after a couple of years not doing that. So that would be my concern. But wait and see.
Yeah, a couple of years in squad rotation. Squads. First team's okay for Everton and Brighton, but both squads, when you scratch a little deeper below the surface, are both struggling a little bit. And I think we jumped away from Spurs, Man City. Man City, we know they've got the squad depth, but Spurs, actually, we saw it a little bit where their squad depth was tested last season, and I don't think they've recruited enough.
No.
So although they have a strong first team out at the moment, and their back four looks really like it. Romero as captain now in place of Son, I think was an astute choice as well by Thomas Frank. I think he's made some good and clever decisions both tactically and also in terms of his player management. But yeah, if their squad depth is challenged, I think we're going to see them fall away from a challenge quite early.
Yeah, I think it's a real theme, actually, of clubs in general. I think there's only a couple, like you say. I think City have got depth, but is that depth of the quality that they would usually have? And is their first team of the quality that they would usually have? I think Arsenal's depth looks really good now that Eze is there. I think they look like one of the strongest squads. But even like I was looking at Liverpool's bench on Monday night, and even then I was thinking, obviously the young lad comes off the bench and scores, and
16-year-old,
yeah, makes me look really silly for thinking that. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a theme that there aren't that many deep squads knocking around. Chelsea is obviously a complete anomaly. They're just trading players all the time. Yeah, I've seen a few team sheets where it's a bit like, okay, that doesn't look particularly strong on the bench there.
Would totally agree. So to St James's Park on Monday night, and it was Newcastle's attempts at breaking legs versus Liverpool, it seemed like.
Yeah, it's a complete ding-dong game. I actually stopped watching when Gordon got sent off. I was like, God, okay, I don't know if this is going to be the game that I was hoping it was going to be, and then get the notification that Ekitike has scored, and it's like, oh, okay, just 2-0, probably the end of it now. But yeah, fair play to Newcastle. They really kept going, kept that intensity up. Didn't really allow Liverpool to ever get hold of the game, even with one more player on the pitch. So I think that shows the intensity that they played at. I would worry.
The ball in play was, I read, was something like 40 minutes, like the lowest amount of ball in play in really 15 years.
Yeah, wow, I didn't know that. I would worry about Newcastle trying to play with this intensity for a full season, to be honest. Like, they're another one where you kind of look at the bench and think, there's not loads there. They obviously brought in Ramsey from Villa, and I think he's good, but where he fits within that side, I don't really know consistently.
Well, they've got holes all over the place now.
Wow, yeah, they're going to have to shuffle things around with
Isak out,
a few injuries.
Out, was it Tonali got injured?
Tonali, Jolinton,
Gordon, obviously.
Yeah, Gordon obviously banned for 3 games now. But yeah, just generally, I would worry about them being able to keep that intensity up across all the competitions with a relatively thin squad in terms of quality. I think they'd start running into issues in terms of energy levels and injuries, but that's kind of happened before with Howe. And it'd be interesting to see how they manage it once those European games start. But I mean, they've got a brilliant first 11, Newcastle. They're really good to watch. Like, Bruno Guimaraes is such a great player to watch, and yeah, you'd love to have him in your side.
He'd add value to every team in the Prem.
Yeah. I think he's brilliant.
But Liverpool, we said it last week, the gameplay of we'll score more than you left it late to do so, but they did it. But they look so vulnerable at the back. Kerkez cannot be a defensive solution for them. They have to plug that hole.
Yeah, was it the first goal that he got badly exposed for?
First goal and several major attempts as well for the XG boost was specifically down his way.
Yeah, even with Gravenberch back in the side, they still looked vulnerable, didn't they? So, yeah, like I said last week, I think I'm just interested to see how they manage this going forwards, especially Slot, who didn't seem to want to play this type of football last season. Then all of a sudden, this is how they want to play. I think they need a centre-half. I think Konate is looking a bit all over the place at the moment. I'm not really sure what's going on with him, because I think he looked really good last season, but yeah, he looks a bit exposed at the moment. I don't know if that a bit more space with the type of lineup that they have and the way that they're going forward is creating a bit more space that he's struggling to deal with. They seem well in for Mark Way, so it seems like that is still going to happen in the last few days of the window. I think he'll be a good addition.
I saw Robertson was on the bench but didn't come on. Szoboszlai was obviously asked to do the right back role. I'm not sure if Robertson's not fit or was just carrying a knock and they just risked it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the story is.
But if that's your defensive solution, is dropping your 8 back to right back, then they probably don't have the defensive squad depth that they have at the top of the park.
Well, with Frimpong injured, it's created a problem for them. And I think they lost a bit with Szoboszlai having to play so deep. You know, he played a part in the goal with his clever little dummy. I think he's such a clever player, and not having him in...
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, not having him further up the pitch is going to hurt you. So it'd be... I don't know. Wirtz is obviously going to take a little bit of time to settle.
I was very optimistic, having seen a couple of the pre-season highlights of the matches, albeit not the whole matches. It seemed like everything was going through him, at least in the highlights it was, and I was missold, given what I saw versus Newcastle, because he couldn't get control of the game. You kind of want everything to go through him for them to tick, but that's not how it's going to happen in the Prem.
I just don't think that's the game for him. Newcastle make it so chaotic. and don't give you any space or time on the ball. Early on in his Prem career, for him to be asked to play in that game, it's a bit of a baptism of fire. I do think he'll be good for them. I feel like it's hard to imagine a world where he isn't good for them, to be honest. So he just probably needs that little period of adjustment. Ekatike hasn't needed that, though. He looks really good.
Really sharp. Any others to speak of before we skip on to the next sport?
I think Arsenal look good.
Yeah. I don't think that Leeds are the litmus test for that yet.
No, but that was an important game for a few players, I think. Like Gyökeres stepping up and taking a penalty and like getting his first goal. I think that's important. You don't hanging over you for too long. And Calafiori just looks really good, doesn't he? I think that kind of confidence, that kind of result breeds confidence. And they've got other players to come into the mix as well in Eze now. Their bench looks incredibly strong, I think. Like reading it now, you've got Trossard, Nwaneri, Moreno, Martinelli, Lewis Skelly. Kivior looks like he's out the door, doesn't he? And then you've got this young lad who obviously everyone's extremely excited about, given how young he is, Max Dowman. I think
coming on in place of Madueke, who they've obviously brought in this season.
Yeah, exactly. He spent a lot of money on him.
It looks like Saka's injured for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Most of that is going to be international break. I think what we will see is some players are injured this weekend for the international break. Yeah. Conveniently, his is maybe a little bit long and might be a bit too serious and might take a little bit of time to come back, but expect him early October. But real strength there with Zubimendi and Rice. They're so solid covering the back four if the back four ever needed it, which they don't. And they've got two wing backs, I'll call them, who do get forward, although Timbers is mainly threat at set piece, but Calafiori definitely is getting forward and supporting with the attack and get with a very creative and direct front line that they now have, which is what they didn't have last season. So it's looking promising.
I think they've had such a strong window. Like, it's so hard once you get to a team of that level where that Arsenal are at, where they're trying to go deep in the Champions League and trying to win the league at the same time. Like, so difficult to look at those teams and think, where do we make this better? I think they've focused on the right areas in terms of out wide and through the middle up front, and they've brought in the right type of profiles like Madueke and Eze. Can both play either side, both really quick, but can also play in tight spaces. I think they've signed really well-rounded players. I think I'd include Zubimendi in that as well. For them, I think it's going to be all about mentality and can they keep cool heads this season? Because to me, at the moment, their squad looks the most durable and the most well-balanced.
I've said it in previous seasons, so...
I feel like I say something similar about Arsenal every year. Yeah.
Very, very comfortable to speak about them in this way at this point in the season. Similarly, last season, I couldn't see how anyone was going to score against them. It feels the same now, but we'll see post-international break. Let's move on to golf, shall we?
Please.
A couple of highlights. We have finished... Well, we'll talk about Tommy Fleetwood. We've just finished the PGA Tour season for the year, culminating with the final 30, playing the Tour Championship at Eastlake. And it was Tommy Fleetwood on his 164th attempt, winning a tournament on the PGA Tour. What a tournament. What a tournament to win. I'm not 100% sure what his prize money was out of it. But if you're going to win one, it is the Tour Championship. Doing it in style.
Yeah, he's been the Neely man so many times, hasn't he? It's so nice to see him win one and win quite comfortably in the end as well, which, like, I'm sure he was relieved to be walking up the last with a few in hand. Yeah, I think he's such a likeable guy. I really love watching him play golf. I think he's got one of the nicest swings. You know, even though it's a little bit unorthodox in the way that he kind of chokes his follow through a little bit. I saw somebody talking about that the other day and like the reasons why he might be doing it to kind of control his ball flight, basically, to control the height that he gets on the ball or whatever.
The flight's as beautiful as the swing.
Yeah,
that consistent draw that he has is so nice to.
Yeah. Really pleased with him to get to get a win. I think he really deserved it, actually, because he came really close a few months ago, didn't he? Had a bit of a heartbreaking final round.
To what we'll talk about very, very shortly in Keegan Bradley, the runner-up to Keegan Bradley, the US Ryder Cup captain. But yeah, to speak more of Fleetwood, I said to you before we recorded, I'm actually surprised looking at his professional wins for the quality that he's been and how close to the top he's been for many, many years. I think he's been on the tour for nearly 15 years and he's won 11 titles, 7 on the European Tour, 1 in the smaller Sunshine Tour, and the Challenge Tour he's won 1 and picked up a couple of others elsewhere. But major tours, 7 in Europe and 1 on the PGA, albeit the Tour Championship, which is incredible. Any other golfer would bite your hand off for those statistics, but for how good he is and for how close he's been, hopefully this is what releases the floodgates and would cap his career if he gets a major. He's come close in every major. He's been top 5 in all majors. Masters 2024, he was tied 3rd. PGA, he was tied 5th in 2022. US Open, 2nd, 2018, 2019, 2nd in the Open. So he can do it across all formats. The good thing about the majors is they all have very different challenges, and he's met them all. To finish top 5 in all of the majors as your best results is epic. And now to have won on both tours, won the Tour Championship, top 30, a mainstay in the Ryder Cup team, he is at the pinnacle in golf. So hopefully this is the catalyst now to kick on next year and start competing in majors again.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of chat about, how much he deserves it. And I think, is it 30 top 5 finishes over his career? I think he's been so close so many times. That's pretty consistent in terms of he's averaging 2 tournaments a year where he finishes in the top 5 at the highest level of golf. So he's playing pretty well, fairly consistently. He's had a few drop-offs like they all do, but this season in particular has felt like a good one for him. I feel like he's been in and around the top 10 quite a lot. I don't know exactly how many times he's finished in the top 10 on PGA events, but feels like he's been there or thereabouts a few times.
Yeah, he's always a good bet each way. It feels really harsh to call him a nearly man, because being in contention, it just means that you're world class at golf.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not a nearly man, he's just world class at golf. Yeah. So he was the highest prize money. So the streak that he's broken is that he was the highest prize money winner on the PGA Tour without winning a tournament. So that's now broken, which is amazing. Anything else to add on Tommy Fleetwood? Obviously, yeah, he runner-up to the US Ryder Cup captain in Keegan Bradley earlier this season. Keegan Bradley has had an epic season. Was a bit of a rogue pick to be captain anyway, because he's only 39 or turned 39 this year. The average age of a tour player on the US Tour, on the PGA Tour in the US, is 35. So he's just above the average age of the tour, and hasn't played loads of Ryder Cups. I think he's only played a couple. Correct me if I'm wrong, someone, but I think he's only played a couple, and heartbreaking results in both, I believe. But he's not picked himself. So he said if he was an automatic pick, then he would go with that.
Mm-hmm.
He is just outside the automatic picks, but the people that have been brought in, I mean, they've been falling down the rankings. So we've got obviously Scotty Scheffler and JJ Spawn, Russell Henley as well, have been imperious throughout the year. We've seen what Bryson DeChambeau has done in the majors this year, and Harris English has been up there and challenging all throughout the year until incredibly consistent. Xander Schauffele, however, has fallen off a cliff in terms of form, but is still third-ranked pick. Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, both of those have been given captain's picks. They were basically the next in the rankings, so he has just gone with the rankings, except for Brian Harman, who is such a short hitter that it will not suit his game to play at Bethpage. He'll be playing 50 yards behind.
So he's left Harman out.
He's left Harman out.
Okay.
Which has meant that hot putting Sam Burns is in. Patrick Cantlay had a good finish to the tour, as did Cameron Young. Ben Griffin has been amazing on tour this year, but Morikawa and Justin Thomas they were automatic qualifiers earlier in the year, and they've just been slipping down the rankings, same as Chaufflet. They're not on form, and they're the veterans of this Ryder Cup team. So that's a little bit of a concern for them, I think, which is why I was a bit surprised that Bradley didn't pick himself.
Yeah, I think experience is so important in Ryder Cup, and that's why it's just so different to like all other forms of golf, really. And you got all those factors of, are you going to have people who are calm under the pressure of the crowds and like understand when to play the crowd and when not to play the crowd, like those types of things. And I think, Justin Thomas in particular, and I was thinking Cantley as well, he's been a really good Ryder Cup performer in the past. I think those two in particular are going to have been like experienced picks. And Burns he's had a good year, hasn't he? Would you say this has been like a breakout year for him that's been rewarded with a pick?
I think globally, yes, he's become a household name globally in the game of golf. Prior to that, he was I think I've heard of him. Yeah, his putting especially has been on a hot streak with his putter lately, which is going to be very, very important at Bethpage.
Yeah, you want to build pressure on the European team, and the way to build pressure is to hole putts, isn't it? And that's what it's all about, the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, you pair someone like Bryson with Sam Burns. Bryson and Burns as Bethpage. Like, I can see the headlines. Concerned about pairings like that. And I think this could be. Bryson has proved it. He is the limelight. His 6 top 10 finishes that have earned him the qualification despite not playing on the PGA Tour is incredible. 6 top 10 finishes in majors, that is. There's a 17-month qualification period that he's done that. 6 top 10 finishes in majors. That's unrivaled, except for obviously Scotty. So we're not talking about Scotty, but Scotty, yeah. I don't know how anyone gets on in terms of like playing with Scotty. I don't know who he gets paired with. I'm not sure about those pairings.
He's struggled in Ryder Cups previously, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. The last Ryder Cup, he did struggle. However, it was post that Ryder Cup that he really then kicked on and hasn't looked back since. However, he would say he's not playing his best golf right now. But him not playing his best golf right now
he's still
gets him an each-way finish at the Tour Championship as well as a major this year. So that looks pretty ominous for the Ryder Cup. So we will see next Monday afternoon, 2 p.m. UK time, we'll have Luke Donald's picks for the European team. So we'll talk about that when we do the pod next Monday. But that'll wrap us for golf. We'll touch briefly on the US Open tennis.
Yeah, I mean, breaking news as of an hour ago, we're talking on Wednesday evening that Jack Draper's pulled out with an arm injury. So that's a bit of a shame.
British tennis has been pretty strong this year. And Cam Norrie is also, as we speak, is 2 sets up. We'll see how he does when the pod actually goes out tomorrow. But he's 2 sets up. We're strong in the women's game right now, with Cartel's obviously being knocked out, but Raducanu went through comfortably, only dropping 3 games in under an hour in her game 2.
Yeah, in the tournament in between, I think Raducanu played the top seed who beat her in Wimbledon, whose name escapes me at the moment.
Sabalenka.
Yeah, she played Sabalenka again and lost again. She's getting to those... Yeah, but she's getting to those big games, and she has pushed her twice now. She's back at the US Open, which is obviously the venue of best result to date.
Yeah.
So hopefully she feels comfortable there. Hopefully she's fit and feels confidence with the way that she's been performing this year. And maybe she's
potentially, say it quietly, she might do. It might be harsh, but it feels like this is the longest period she stayed with the same coach. So
stayed with the same coach and
something to do with it. Home favourite Coco Gauff as well got through, did drop a set, but got through. We had a shaky start from Djokovic, dropping a set, but then looking very comfortable in the rest of his game. Also on the men's side, you've got Taylor Fritz, who could be an outside bet, who's nearly 2 sets to 1 up against the South African Lloyd Harris. There's just a lot going on at the moment. We'll speak more about it next week when we join up, because we'll be entering into the second week of the US Open. But what I did want to speak about was the US Open mixed event, which was maybe a little bit more of an exhibition than it was a serious US Open. how did you find it being separate from the actual main US Open with the big celebrity pairings that they had? What I was glad about was that it was actually a true out-and-out mixed doubles pairing that won the championship.
Who won?
It was Sarah Rani, and they're both Italian, Sarah Rani and Andrea Vasari. So were they number one seed as well? I think they may have been number one seed, but yeah, they do play together and act like it as well. Igor Swiatek and Casper Ruud, obviously, are mainstays in the singles, and I think being in the top 5, top 10 in singles for men and women for the last couple of years. So we're going to be very, very hard to play against individually, and they were ranked number 3 seeding for the mixed doubles. Yeah, but they got fairly well dispatched.
Yeah, I found it a bit odd, to be honest. Like, I think I saw
separating it.
Yeah, separating it, and it feels a little bit forced. Is that fair to say? I don't know. Like, I just saw Venus Williams' name and was a bit like, what? Feels like a long time since I've seen her on a tennis card. But yeah, I mean, separating it out gives it more focus, obviously, but that only matters.
Yeah, 100%.
That only matters if they do a good job of marketing it and informing people as to why they're splitting it out, why the format is what it is, the fact that it is a tournament and not an exhibition officially, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people assumed that it was an exhibition.
Yeah, with the pairings that they had. So I said about Swiatek and Casper Ruud. You also had Jeff Pegula, the American, and Jack Draper, and then you had Raducanu and you had Alcaraz. I mean, these names in the mixed doubles event playing together mainly for the first time. So I am pretty glad that it shows that doubles is a serious event.
It
you
matters
can't just
that you
rock up
understand
and
each
win
other
as a serious singles player.
Yeah. I think you see that quite often at the big tournaments anyway. Like, Andy Murray used to play the doubles with his brother a little bit at Wimbledon, or am I imagining
he did,
that?
Yeah.
But they were never, just because Andy Murray was one of the best players in the world, it didn't mean that he was one of the best doubles players in the world as well. It's definitely...
And it actually probably showed when Andy and Jamie Murray played together that Jamie was the leader on the court.
Because it's a different sport almost. Like, you're defending a different part of the court. You're trusting somebody else to do a job. You've got to understand what your job is. I mean, the analogy that I would make is as, a forward in football. If you're a centre forward, playing as a 2 or playing as a 1 is really, really different. Understanding where that person's going to be, who you're playing with, is part of the game to understand, rather than, okay, I can just make the run that I want to make, and not think about where that other person is going to be. And I imagine it's quite similar with tennis, because it's just very different positionally.
Almost equivalent to stroke and freestyle in swimming.
Yeah, exactly. Just because you're the fastest freestyle swimmer in the world doesn't mean that you're the fastest backstroke swimmer in the world.
Exactly. There we go. Right, if you've enjoyed listening along, you can like and subscribe on Spotify and YouTube. You can get in touch emailing us at allsportspods@gmail.com, and we will catch you on the next one. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.